What's next for Mexico's economy after Andrés Manuel López Obrador's landslide victory? Mexican peso holds firm in wake of the presidential win. Mexican businessmen unite to congratulate López Obrador, and Mexico's steel exports reach record highs despite Trump's tariffs. Hello and welcome to today's edition of Mexico News Network's Breaking News Business. I'm Elliot Bullman. Let's go to the information. Riding a wave of populist anger fueled by rampant corruption and violence, the leftist Andrés Manuel López Obrador was elected president of Mexico on Sunday in a landslide victory that upended the nation's political establishment and handed him a sweeping mandate to reshape the country. Mexico's electoral authority gave López Obrador between 53% and 53.8% of the vote, the highest total for a Mexican presidential candidate since 1982, when one-party rule was the norm. Hailing a historic night, Mr. López Obrador called on all Mexicans to reconcile and repeated his campaign pledge to review energy contracts for signs of corruption. The core promises of Mr. López Obrador's campaign to end corruption, reduce violence, and address Mexico's endemic poverty were immensely popular with voters. The Electoral Institute figures put official turnout at 62.7%. As well as a new president, 128 senators and 500 deputies in Congress were also elected, in addition to state and local officials. Mr. López Obrador is inheriting Latin America's second largest economy, a prospect that has filled millions of Mexicans with hope, and the nation's elites with trepidation, because it comes at a time when Mexico's chief trading ally, the United States, threatens to continue increasing tariffs. During the campaign, Mr. López Obrador had often used confrontational language when referring to Mr. Trump, but struck a more conciliatory note in his victory speech, saying he would seek friendly relations. And on Sunday night, Mr. Trump posted a tweet congratulating Mr. López Obrador. In related news, after reaching an intraday high of 20.12 pesos per dollar in the European session at 5 a.m. Monday morning, the Mexican peso began to erase part of the losses and fell to a comfortable level of 19.99 and 20 pesos per dollar, where it kept practically static. Edward Glossop, economist for Latin America of the British firm Capital Economics, commented that the reaction of the market to the votes and the speeches of AMLO were relatively contained. His leftist National Regeneration Movement, Morena Party, may clinch majorities in Congress, which could allow him to make bigger economic changes, such as raising spending without brokering deals with other parties. López Obrador has insisted he'll maintain a fiscal surplus and fund more social spending by fighting corruption. In his victory speech at a downtown hotel, López Obrador struck a conciliatory tone, saying he would preserve fiscal discipline and central bank independence. But he also said he would review oil contracts awarded to major oil companies to ensure there'd be no corruption. And later, before speaking to tens of thousands in the historic city centre, he said he would double pensions for the elderly and establish a government by the people. Investors will now be awaiting to see how López Obrador engages President Donald Trump and what tack he'll take on deadlocked talks to revamp the NAFTA agreement. Following on from this story, Mexican businessmen, including Ricardo Salinas, founder and president of Grupo Electra, TV Azteca, and Banco Azteca, Salinas Pliego congratulated Mexico's new president-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador for his triumph in the presidential elections. Ricardo Salinas remarked that people listen to everything and in the end, by a large majority, decided that López Obrador was a better option for the next 6 years. Salinas said, "Let's go to the future with confidence and unity. That way we'll get better, and soon we'll have a country where we're all prosperous." Juan Pablo del Valle, president of the board of directors of the Mexichem company, who said he'd voted for Ricardo Anaya, congratulated the Tabasco candidate, saying Mexicans have spoken with their vote and the trends seem irrefutable. For his part, businessman and activist Claudio Gonzalez expressed his good wishes to Andrés Manuel López Obrador, also through Twitter, saying, "Congratulations and the greatest success to the president-elect of Mexico at López Obrador. To collaborate and everything is possible." Jose Ramon Elizondo, president of the Vasconia company, wrote, "Once the electoral process is over, we must look to the future. We have faith in us. There's a lot of work to be done." In other news, Mexican steel exports grew 39.9% per annum in May, despite pressure from tariffs imposed by the United States. The value of steel and aluminium exports amounted to $841 million, its highest level since INEGI registered figures in 1994. Last March, the U.S. Secretary of Commerce, Wilbur Ross, began to put pressure on the steel market by threatening a 25% tax on imports made from Mexico. The purpose of this provocation was to move the balance of the renegotiations of the North American Free Trade Agreement in favor of the United States. And finally, then, of June the 1st, steel and aluminium were taxed with 25% and 10% respectively, justifying issues of national security. Miguel Gonzalez, coordinator of the Center for Financial Studies and Public Finance of the UNAM, noted that the protectionist policies implemented by President Donald Trump have not yet affected exports, although their effects have already begun to be seen in the foreign direct investment to Mexico. He said that tariffs on steel and aluminium have not yet shown an important effect on trade figures because dismantling industrial integration would take time. And finally, let's review the markets. The Mexican peso decreased 1.33% to 19.68 from 19.94 in the previous trading session. On the other hand, the IPC Mexico decreased 2.12% to 46,654 from 47,663 in the previous trading session. This was all for today. Thank you for your company. I'm Elliot Bullman. Remember to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Google+, and log on to MexicoNewsNetwork.com for more information on Mexico and the world. Until next time.